Dmitri stared thoughtfully at the monitor. His cafe was only a month old, and he couldn't afford proper security or a security service just yet. However, he was well aware that his employees could cause damage to the business. Theft was a common concern, and Dmitri couldn't afford to let anything go wrong in his cafe. He had saved money for years to open it, and now that everything was going even better than planned, he watched as his dishwasher dragged a large bag towards the exit. It had only been 3 days since he had installed cameras, so had she been doing this for a month? He stood up determinedly. Theft needed to be stopped at its root. It was strange, though. The girl seemed very young and innocent, not someone who would steal. Perhaps she was skilled at hiding her true identity. The cafe would close in half an hour, and the dishwasher and the receptionist were the last to leave. The dishwasher used a different door, which the receptionist closed afterward. That door couldn't be opened from the outside, so she wasn't aware of the dishwasher's actions. Everything worked out perfectly for the dishwasher. She timed it just right. Dmitri lived just 3 blocks away from his cafe. It only took him 5 minutes by car to reach there. He parked his car, turned off the headlights, and waited. The dishwasher would arrive any minute. Elena, the dishwasher, adjusted her hat carefully. "All right, that's it. My little girl has been well behaved today. Just be patient a little longer, and Mom will take you out," Elena whispered, double-checking everything. She left the holes in the bag open. Angelica, her daughter, was comfortable. Elena had fed her half an hour ago, so the baby would sleep soundly. She knew this wasn't the right way to do things, but she had no other choice. Her milk had dried up suddenly, and the cost of formula meant that her children's allowance would only last for 2 weeks. On top of that, there were diapers and utility bills to pay. Elena was at a loss for a long time, but then she heard about the opening of a new cafe and their job openings. When she went for the interview, she didn't know how she would manage her responsibilities. She desperately needed the job, but her neighbor warned her not to leave Angelica alone for more than 2 days a week. And even then, Elena had to clean her neighbor's house. When Elena saw the cafe and realized that she would be alone as a dishwasher, a plan formed in her head. It was an unrealistic and dangerous plan, which made Elena feel confused. But she decided to give it a try. Angelica was only a month old when she first brought her to work. The baby was quiet and slept peacefully in the back room where the dishes were stored. It was a spacious and well-lit area, and Elena made sure it was kept clean. Elena had lost her parents when she was a child and had lived with her grandmother. Her grandmother had a romantic nature and wasn't interested in the practical aspects of life. Elena had taken care of all the household chores since she was 10 years old. Andrei won Elena's heart instantly. She didn't just fall in love, she was infatuated. After her grandmother passed away, Elena invited Andrei to live with her. He agreed, but as soon as he found out Elena was pregnant, he disappeared with all the valuable items in the apartment. Elena didn't go to the police because she felt too ashamed to go outside. She almost managed to make ends meet, but then those people came into her life and threatened her to sell the apartment. Elena refused to sell, so they warned her that she and her baby could be harmed if she didn't comply. That same day, her milk dried up completely. She had no choice but to find a job. The job at the cafe became her lifeline. She received weekly pay, and it took away the worries about food. For now, they had enough to get by. Elena tried not to think about what would happen when Angelica turned 3 or 4 months old. She believed in her strength and intelligence, although lately she had started doubting herself. Elena carefully placed the bag, closed the door, and turned around only to find herself face to face with the cafe owner. "Ouch," she exclaimed. He mocked her, saying, "Show me what you're carrying in that bag. No cafe can withstand that much stealing." Elena shielded the bag protectively and responded, "I have never stolen anything. Shame on you." "Should I be ashamed?" "Not you, but me," he retorted, laughing. Then he grew serious. "Show me what's in the bag, or I'll call the police." Elena let out a sigh. She had no other choice, especially since Angelica had started to stir inside the bag. She sat down and opened her bag, and Dmitri gasped. "A baby? Where did that come from?" "Is it yours? What's going on? You brought a child to work." Elena, holding Angelica tightly, asked worriedly, "Am I fired?" "Wait, what are you? Just wait. Let me give you a ride. How far do you live?" Dmitri offered. "It's just around the corner," Elena replied. "I can manage. I'll take the bag." Dmitri, aware that Elena wouldn't bring a baby to work unless she had no other choice, insisted, "No, I'll take you there. Give me the bag already." Dmitri had a difficult childhood himself, raised by alcoholic parents. If he hadn't been taken away from them, he might have ended up like them. They arrived at Elena's home, but Dmitri had no intention of leaving just yet. He accompanied Elena to her floor, and when she gave him a pleading look, he said, "I could use a cup of tea." Elena shrugged, not feeling up to refusing. She didn't mind the company, to be honest. But what if? No, he wouldn't allow her to work with a child anyway. Elena quickly changed Angelica's diaper and fed her some formula to help her fall asleep. The baby hadn't eaten in a while. Then she went to the kitchen, where Dmitri was already preparing tea. He looked at her kindly. "I've tidied up a bit here," Dmitri said as Elena sat down, realizing how exhausted she was. It wasn't just physical fatigue, but also mental strain. The constant worry of being discovered, losing her job, it had taken a toll on her. And now she couldn't help but cry. "God, what am I supposed to do now?" Elena sobbed. Dmitri sat in front of her, moved his mug aside, and said gently, "Well, now, tell me everything." "What?" Elena looked surprised. "Everything. Start from the beginning. Your upbringing, education, and so on," Dmitri urged. Elena began to talk, occasionally taking sips of her tea. As she spoke, she realized how unfortunate her life had been. Nothing seemed to align for her, and she didn't have the answers as to why. Dmitri didn't look at her while she spoke. He fought back tears himself, aware of life's injustices. "So, stay home for a couple of days. I'll call someone. We need to figure something out in these 2 days." "We?" Elena questioned. "Well, I can't leave you in this situation, especially since you've been doing a great job with the dishes." "All right, I should be going." "Good night," Dmitri said, getting up and leaving. Elena didn't even have a chance to thank him. She sat there a little longer and then locked the door. On the nightstand in the hallway, she noticed several large bills. Elena leaned against the wall and cried once again. The next day, Elena had to spend one of the bills. Angelica had a fever. The doctor prescribed medication and vitamins. Elena had no choice but to quickly go to the pharmacy while Angelica slept. Luckily, it was just a short walk to the next building. As soon as Elena closed her front door, the doorbell rang. Her heart raced. She thought it might be Dmitri. Elena quickly glanced at herself in the mirror and opened the door. However, she tried to close it immediately, only to be interrupted by the foot of a young man who smirked cheekily at her. "Well, hello there, single mom. Why are you so unwelcoming to guests?" he taunted, pushing past her and entering the apartment. Another man and a girl accompanied him, and the girl started arranging papers on the table. "What do you want? Who are you people?" Elena demanded, trying to close the door again. But the young man blocked her way. "We just want you to change your mind about not selling the apartment. Every day you resist, the value of your apartment decreases. So the sooner you agree, the more money you'll get." Elena couldn't help but laugh, though fear coursed through her. "Are you joking?" "That amount wouldn't even cover the cost of a bathroom in this building," she retorted. The young man smirked. "Just give it a couple of days, and you'll come around. But by then, the offer will be even lower." "Get out! I'm not selling anything," Elena exclaimed, her voice trembling. He moved threateningly closer to her, causing Elena to flinch. But suddenly, the young man jerked back and fell to the floor. Standing behind him was Dmitri. "Do I need to explain to anyone else that the apartment isn't for sale?" Dmitri said firmly, causing the intruders to hastily retreat. Then he turned to Elena. "Why didn't you tell me about them?" "I didn't know they were coming again," Elena replied, looking frightened. Dmitri's heart sank at the sight of her vulnerability. "Go pack your things," Dmitri commanded. "Where?" "You're coming to my place. I'm hardly ever home anyway. You'll be safer there for now. Who knows what those goons might do?" Elena nodded, tears streaming down her face, and went to gather her belongings. Elena obediently went to pack her things. 15 minutes later, they were leaving the apartment. A neighbor peeked out onto the landing. "Elena, did the father show up? So now I won't have to babysit Angelica anymore. And you won't come to clean either?" the neighbor asked. Dmitri smiled affectionately at Elena, his purely white teeth shining. "That's right. Now she'll have to clean up after herself," Dmitri replied with a grin. The neighbor slammed the door. He was a nasty man. Elena had the misfortune of getting involved with such a person. Elena looked around the spacious apartment. "It's beautiful here," she commented. "It is now. You should have seen it when I first bought it. Just walls, all broken and dilapidated. By the way, this will be your room," Dmitri said, opening the door. Elena noticed the robe and slippers belonging to Dmitri. "That's your room," he continued, "but don't yell at me like you do at work. It's big and warm, so you'll be living here, and I'll move over there." He pointed to the door on the other side. "It feels a bit strange," Elena remarked. "It's more uncomfortable sleeping on the ceiling. Make yourself at home. I won't be long," Dmitri replied before heading off somewhere. Elena unpacked her belongings and then went to the kitchen for a glass of water. She noticed a pile of dirty mugs in the sink. It seemed like all Dmitri did at home was drink coffee. She rinsed the dishes and checked the fridge. An hour later, there were meatballs simmering on the stove, potatoes boiling in a pot, and Elena was cutting up salad, smiling at Angelica, who lay on the kitchen couch, supported by pillows. Suddenly, the door slammed, and a disheveled Dmitri stumbled into the kitchen, sniffing the aroma of the food. "I'm so hungry. Come on, let's eat quickly," he urged. Elena scooped Angelica into her arms and followed him. In the hallway, she noticed a brand new crib and stroller. Inside the crib, there were more packages, presumably filled with clothes. "Oh, what's all this? I don't have that kind of money. I don't know when I'll be able to pay you back," Elena exclaimed, feeling overwhelmed. Dmitri smiled and reassured her. Women are mysterious creatures. Who said anything about repayment? After dinner, Elena and Dmitri started rearranging things around the apartment. Dmitri goofed around, making Elena laugh. Even Angelica, lying on the big bed, seemed to mumble something in her own baby language. That night, Elena couldn't sleep, and Dmitri couldn't sleep either. They both realized that they felt incredibly content. They were no longer alone in the house. Dmitri propped himself up on his elbow, contemplating that it would only be a matter of time before Elena wanted to return to her own place. She was like that. She didn't want strangers around. However, he knew deep down that he didn't want her to leave. During breakfast the next morning, Dmitri casually said, "We should get married." The knife slipped from Elena's hand and clattered onto the floor. "What?" she exclaimed in shock. Dmitri looked at her earnestly. "We should get married. Angelica needs a father, and you need protection." Elena stared at him with wide eyes. "I never thought I would receive such a proposal." Dmitri put down his fork and gazed back at her. What could he say? That he had foolishly fallen in love with a woman and her child who washed dishes in his restaurant. He tried to find the right words, but Elena unexpectedly reached across the table and kissed him. It was a soft, gentle kiss that sent an electric shock through Dmitri. He pulled away and reached for the phone. "Can you manage without me? I have an important meeting. I won't be in today. The dishwasher. Have a nice day," Dmitri said quickly before leaving the room. Elena sat there, her heart racing, as the weight of Dmitri's proposal sank in. Everything was changing, and a new chapter was about to begin. If you like the story, please support me with the thumbs up button, and if you want to hear more interesting stories, subscribe and press the bell icon.